Well, hi there. Welcome to Lean In with Commissioner Henri E. Brooks. That's me. I'm your host. And I have a great guest. I have my friend here, my colleague, someone that I care so much about. And you all know her before I say her name because she's all over the place. She's everywhere. Commissioner Erica Sugarman.
Thank you, thank you. I'm very humbled because you have been in the legislative branch for many, many years,
Yeah.
as well local level as well as a state level. So I've been honored to work with you. And your viewers may not understand how we work at the commission. We have 13 commissioners, and we need 7 votes to get anything passed. And we have passed some great legislation. And so,
And I think you've done most of the passing of legislation.
well, writing, but of course, your vote is
yeah,
instrumental because you have to have 7 votes. And so I count my votes. I make sure I have 7. But you have been supporting our legislation throughout the 3 years, throughout our tenure. And I don't know if you spoke about some of it, but
Well, let me say this first. I want to say when we when we tell the public that we've been supportive of each other and I've voted for your resolutions and ordinances, I want them to know that that's because I saw the benefit
okay.
and how it will greatly, positively impact our community because our demographics pretty much look alike. So, what's good for your district is good
Yes.
for mine.
Yes.
So I support it. That's how
And
we
then I
work.
also support your legislation.
And I appreciate
And one
it.
of the ones that I really like is the one where it deals with advocacy in the districts where if, for example, a developer or someone was coming to a district and changes the zoning, they require
engagement.
community engagement. Exactly. They have to have 3 meetings with the community because so often people come after the fact to say, why are they putting up that gas station?
Right.
Why are they putting up that storage facility? Is because in the past they were not required to have community engagement. So I really love that legislation that you wrote.
Well, what that came out of right after I was elected in 2022. I started going to community meetings. And in those meetings, just about each one of them, people were asking, do you know what they're doing out here? The road is closed. Or do you know, what is that big steel frame building going up?
Right.
So people weren't notified about the changes coming to their neighborhoods and
Right.
communities. And these are homeowners now.
Right.
So those kinds of changes can impact the value of your home. And that's one thing that's real important. Your home is your most valuable investment. So
Exactly.
anyway, it came out of that, the community engagement. So we passed that resolution now. These organizations, developers, or what have you, are required to let us know. And that's one thing I want people to know. You have the right.
That's right.
You have the right to know what's coming to your neighborhood, what kind of changes, building, road closures, new roads, whatever
That
is
is
coming to
correct.
your neighborhood.
That is
But
correct.
one of the things, since we're talking about that, I want to ask you, because I know that you're so busy being a teacher. Let's
Yes.
start with that. Let's start there.
Oh my God.
Let's start there. So where are you teaching and what are you teaching and how does that interface with what you're doing on the commission?
Well, okay, so I've been a teacher for 27 years.
27.
I've taught over 8,000 students because I teach semester classes like
Yeah.
psychology, U.S. government, et cetera.
Yeah.
So it's about 300 kids a year,
Okay.
a school year. And so one year when No Child Left Behind was passed by the Bush administration, the kids came in complaining, oh my God, we're being tested too much. And so, me, I was like, put it back on them. So what are you going to do about it? And they're like, we're just kids. We can't do anything. I said, oh, really? You're 12th graders? You're adults, young adults? So I invited Mayor Lee in. He was at the time a law professor. And he taught the students and me how to write a bill.
Okay.
And so we wrote a bill about the testing. And so from that, we have written over the years maybe 7 to 10 bills that the kids would then go to the state and they would fight for them. And so I've been writing bills for a long time. So when I came on the commission, it was like second nature. This is something I've been doing. But also, you've been doing it as well as a legislator.
Oh, absolutely. The real deal, that's for sure. But I often wish that we still had civics education
We do. It's
in our
U.S. government.
classroom.
I teach it. I've been teaching for
Okay,
27 years.
okay,
And it's not called civic education. It's
okay.
called U.S. government. I
Hmm.
think that's where the disconnect is. At the middle school level, it's still called civics. So
Okay.
they get two shots. They are taught at the 12th grade level
Hmm.
because they're 17-year-olds. And
Right.
according to our state law, every high school in Tennessee, whether it's private, public,
Hmm.
charter, etc., they have to have a voter registration drive.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
we have been, I've been teaching civics, if you will, but U.S. government for 27 years.
Hmm.
And that's one of my favorite classes
Hmm.
because think about the impact as far as voting. I asked, for example, a young man who just left here, he was one of my former students. I
Hmm.
said, Are you a registered voter? He said,
Yeah.
yes, because in my class,
Yeah.
either you can register to vote or find someone else to register or
Uh-huh.
write an essay. And, kids, they're going to
Yeah.
take registration.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Right.
but we've been doing, and then when President Obama ran for office,
Hmm.
the kids wanted to work, at the election
Hmm.
commission.
Hmm.
And so again, I reached out to the election commission.
Hmm.
I said, I've got students who want to work. And they said, okay, we'll pay them because they
Hmm.
needed more workers. And so, because of that one class,
Yeah.
now it's expanded to all high schools. So if they want their
That's
kids to
wonderful.
work,
Yeah.
it's like a field trip.
Yeah.
It's not it's excused absence, and they'll get paid. And
As a
so,
poll worker
no,
or?
no. They work actually. You know how you go in and check your ID and things like that.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
so they're working inside like
Yes.
deputy registrars.
Well, they're not deputy registrars because they're registering anybody, but they're checking
Hmm.
people's ID
Yeah.
and things
Oh,
like that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so now it's opened up to high school. But the thing is, it's a first come, first served basis.
Hmm.
And so we now quickly try to get the kids who want to work, and it's
Right.
excused absence, and they do get paid.
Okay. So
And
what's the
so
age limit for that?
17.
17 years old.
Hmm.
Okay. So it's not, is it children who are 17 now and will be 18 by the next election, or any 17-year-old?
Any 17-year-old.
Okay.
That's different
That's
than being
great.
a voter, yes.
Hmm.
And then you also voter registration drives, and that you have to be turn 18, to your point,
Hmm.
30 days before the election.
Hmm.
Okay.
Hmm. Hmm.
No, I'm sorry, it's not 30 days. By the election
By
date.
the election day.
Correct.
Right.
So we also have students that were registered for 17, but going to turn 18 by the next election.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So if you are 17 and you will be 18 by May 5th, and May could be May 4th, then of course you can go ahead and get involved. But we like to have, one of the things we want to do voter education.
Correct.
Because we want to make sure that our children, the children who present to us, are children who can make the connection between voting and issues, voting, and who know that their ballot is their voice. So
Yes.
how do we start this? How do we want to bring this out in terms of getting these children educated?
Yes.
Not
And so,
registered, educated.
yes. And so I'm glad that's a very good question because we have those kind of conversations in the classroom. For example, I'll have students to look at the ballot and they'll determine who they want to vote for. I said, wait a minute. I don't want you to vote because you're a friend or your parents. I want you to tell me why you're voting for this person. What are the issues this person stands for? And you'd be surprised. Sometimes they'll say, well, they would look at the ballot and because the name recognition, say, I'm voting for that person. I'm voting for that person. And so one child took of me. He said, my name is Tart Burns, and I'm going to vote for Marsha Burns. I said, okay, now go home and do the research. He came back the next day and said, I will never vote for her. And so same thing with referendums. There was a referendum or something like, the Freedom of Religion Act or something like that.
Right.
And the kids were like, oh, I would support that. I'll support that. Go home and do your research. They came back and say, I would never do that. I would never support that. And so it tickles me. And so the kids make up their own minds.
Well, that's how important research is.
Yes.
And, we're talking about children, but that extends to adults, particularly adults
Yeah.
who vote on name recognition,
Right.
who vote because they attend their sorority or their frat brother or they socialize together.
Right.
That's not it. That's not how we pick
Right.
people to represent us in any legislative body. We need to get to know them.
Right.
We need to know that their agenda aligns with ours.
Right.
The issues we're concerned about, we need to know that they're concerned about them and will be a priority. So,
And I'm glad you talked about that, mentioned that, because what happens a lot of times, I have the students go home and discuss it with their parents.
uh-huh.
And so one time, this young lady, she said, I'm never going to discuss this with my parents. I said, why? Because we oppose different people. And she was just all over me, you know. And so then I said, well, you know, the voting booth is private.
Yeah.
So your parents, your boyfriend, whomever will not know who you vote for.
Right.
That's a private individual decision.
Mhm.
But if you don't want to discuss it with your parents, that's okay.
Right.
That's okay.
Because you will have opposing or different views. But the most important thing is for you to make sure that you do your homework.
Yes.
Look beyond the name.
Yes.
Find out what these candidates, whomever comes to your church or wherever, and ask for your vote. You want to find out, well, what have you done?
Yeah.
What
And
have
not
you
what
done
you
in the
look like
community?
either.
Right.
Because I remember Bill Clinton was running. There's like, oh, I'm voting for Bill Clinton. He's fine. I was like, what? No, that's not why you vote for somebody.
That's not a criteria, okay? It is not a criteria. It doesn't matter. You want to make sure that the person is intelligent on the issues, talks about the concerns that, not the concerns, but solutions to problems that you are concerned about.
Right.
Because you want to make sure there's an alignment, whether it's healthcare, your paycheck, the environment, police services, and this will require a little bit of work on your part, right?
Oh, definitely.
You're gonna have to get off the couch. Yeah, you got to get off the couch. You may have to maybe go and Google somebody. You may have to pull some books or something.
And that's so important because even adults don't know where to find their districts. And so I walk them through the Shelby County Election Commission, and they have to go to the URL, the link. They have to click on that. Then that's type in their address, and there's a little bitty black button.
Yeah.
It's a search button.
Yeah.
And I've asked the Shelby County Election Commission to change the way it's set up because a lot of adults even cannot navigate it. But they'll find their districts, and then they'll also determine who are their current representatives are. And then they'll do the research to see if this is somebody they want to reelect or is this somebody they want to replace. So we go step by step by step, you know, so that then they go home and show their parents.
Right,
because a lot of times they don't know that. And the other thing real quick I want to mention, you talked about voter education, but also getting people to register to vote. There's what you mentioned, a deputy registrar. Okay, so there are 3 classes coming up for deputy registrars. Okay, it's January.
Y'all listen.
January the 28th,
Okay.
February the 28th, and then March the 10th. And so you go to the Shelby County Election Commission and go to outreach and then go to deputy registrar and you can register. Now, having said that, you need to register ahead of time because if we can get 10 people together and, for example, you want another class at another time, they're also accommodating because once they came to the union, the teachers union, and they gave a class. So as long as you have 10 people, they'll come out and help you become a deputy registrar. And why is that important? Because as a deputy registrar, I'm a deputy registrar. So when I have students, for example, who want to register and I sign my John Hancock, put my initials on it, that means that this person does not have to show up in person the first time they vote. And so a lot of students go away to college and say, well, I can't come back, you know, because it's too expensive. Well, you can vote absentee if you
Your
are
first year.
the first year. If you are signed up by deputy registrar. If you're not, then you do have to come back to Memphis or Shelby County to vote in person for the first time.
For the first time, you'll have to vote in person. Yeah, and that's something that we've got. We'll have to remind children of that over and over and over. And hopefully once we get to get our structure put together whereby we can have an audience with children in high school, then we'll be able to emphasize that point. But then there's another part of the voter education that we need to talk some more about.
Okay.
And that's absentee voting, okay? A number of seniors will vote absentee. And we have to let them know. I always want to let everyone know there's a process for everything.
Correct.
And there's a process for absentee voting.
Correct.
So there's a date that you can get your absentee request in. You got to send it in to the election commission, and I think you can start doing that on the 25th. But you want to make sure wherever you are that you've gotten it filled out and you've gotten it into the election commission. Give them the opportunity to process it. They'll get it back out to you. So if you need help with that, you can always contact your county commissioner, or you can contact your elected official, any elected official, or better yet, contact the election commission.
Yes, contact the election commission. Do not contact me. Just kidding.
Okay. So now let me ask you a couple of things. And we know that you do a lot of work in terms of ordinances, and you stay in touch with your community. Talk about that, because you have a number of ways you reach out to your constituents. Talk about that for a minute.
Okay, and so you're right. So I have social media because before I was just contacting people through HOAs or things of that nature. They're saying, well, we need to be able to reach you through not just the media, like news, things of that nature, but also through social media. So I do that. Then I also have been having podcasts. I've been doing that for a couple of years. I had one I did last year for 10 months. Now I'm starting up another one. And so there are different ways to engage individuals. Now in my district, for example, they're not apt to come out to town hall meetings. I've had a few, but they prefer me to come to the HOA meetings because we're strong with HOAs.
Right.
And there's a reason for that. It's because HOAs protect property values. They can write in their HOA, for example, if they only want 25% rentals in this area, and things of that nature. So they protect their property values, and so they prefer me to come to their meetings. And so I do that about once a month. I'll go to HO meetings.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So they meet monthly?
It's just so many.
Oh, it's so many.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I try to, schedule them because they'll say, we've got some issues and we need you to come here right now. And so I'm there then.
Let's tell our listeners, viewers, where is your district?
Oh, that's a very good question. And so I have a very strange district. When they drew the district at the state level, they drew out all the resources, such as I do not have a police substation, I do not have a community center, et cetera. And so we also do not get our return on as far as their taxes are concerned, and that's a huge issue. We're underserved because what happens is, so it's part of Memphis, Germantown, Collierville, and unincorporated. And so if there's a problem, they have 4 city council members to contact, and they know who to contact all 4, as well as your county commissioner. And what has been happening in the past, but not recently since I've been a commissioner, the city council blamed the county, and the county blamed the city council, and so nothing would get done.
Yeah.
And so I've reached out to not only all the mayors, all 7 mayors that are under in the Shelby County, but also made a point to, in particular, to reach out the mayors in Collierville and Germantown, because again, even though I have a small portion, what we do as a commission impacts them.
Right.
And so we have to have a connection between the elected officials at the local level as well as the state level, and also to have a connection with the community. So it's not just like we're talking together.
Oh my goodness, that's quite a bit. So you have how many? About 7 or 8 HOAs?
Oh, more than that.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I have about a dozen.
Well, we're talking about homeowner associations,
correct,
right?
where you pay fees and things like that if you're a homeowner. In 38141, for example, we have over 60% rentals, and so that's impacting the neighborhoods. We have a lot of rental. Anytime you have more than 50%, makes the community unstable, and so that's been a huge concern in my district. Another concern in my district is stealing cars, because we don't have community centers or things for the youth to do. They have a game of stealing cars. Okay, in my district, because they're nice cars. Because I have disadvantaged people, working class, middle class people, and also I have affluent people. So I have all of it. And so they do things, or they'll go to Southwind after school and have fights, and it's a game for them because they have nothing to do.
And we've got to fix that, even though we're the county. We may have to look at some changes in our rules, or may have to have some charter changes, because there's some things that we need to be doing differently. We got this dual government. We're stuck with it. I was just reading an article from someone in unincorporated Memphis, who was saying that whatever we do, we oppose consolidation.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, that's fine and good.
Mm-hmm.
But
I've
the
heard the
thing
same
is,
thing.
yeah, the deal is we got to make sure that this government is working for everyone and that,
Right.
if Shelby County needs to change its charter so that it can be fairer and reach more
Yes.
taxpayers, then we need to
Yes.
do that because they're paying both taxes, two taxes, double. But
Correct.
I'll tell you what, let me just switch gears here. And since we're talking about Shelby County, tell me, what is your vision for Shelby County?
Oh my gosh. We're a mecca for transportation. We're a mecca for the medical field. And now we're now a mecca for data information.
Yeah.
So again, we are ideally located. And to say that, oh, companies need pilots paying little taxes to come here, that is bull. Okay, so what that does is take away the taxes from like infrastructure schools or things of that nature. Um, that gives an incentive for companies to not pay taxes. And that's a huge issue because right now we're broke. Shelby County is broke. Why do I say that? Because we have not raised taxes, property taxes, in 20 years. And so we, as a commission, voted to keep things the same. So, everything's gone up in cost over the years. So when things go up, okay, and we're not collecting more money, then you have cuts. And unfortunately, we've had to make a lot of program cuts. And it's really bad at the timing because you think about all the federal cuts, as
Oh,
far as
yeah.
resources are
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
people are going to depend upon the local officials to help them support them. The money's not going to be there. I'm sorry. So, for example, the example I'll give is that if there's a depression, and if there's a soup line, there'll be a soup line with no soup.
Okay. Well, I think that's one way to put it.
Very blunt.
Yeah, and very dark. Let's hope we do not get to that point. But what I'm looking at, I think we've got to get creative in
Exactly.
terms of revenue,
Exactly.
different streams of revenue. We cannot continue to rely on property taxes and fees, if you will. It is, I mean, we've got to do something different. Sales tax is just through the roof, highest in the
Well,
nation.
you know why, right?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't know if you were at the state when Donald Sundquist was the governor of
Yes, I
Tennessee.
was.
You were?
Yeah,
Okay, so you know what happened,
yeah, I
right?
know what happened. I
Okay,
almost got
so
killed by
state.
Marsha Blackburn because, yes, she
What?
she she t- she told her constituents that we were about to vote on the income tax, so they all converged on us, broke into the
Oh my
Capitol,
gosh.
threw bottles, everything, and it just so happened the state troopers led us,
Oh
around a
wow.
secret passage away from the Capitol. But
Right.
Marsha Blackburn was the one who broadcast that lie
Mm-hmm.
all over the media,
Mm-hmm.
saying that we were about to vote on an income tax,
Mm-hmm.
and it wasn't on the floor.
Okay. So Donald Sundquist, what I'd like to say is that he proposed a state income tax, and I would like to have an opportunity to explain the difference between a progressive taxation and regressive taxation. Progressive taxation is based on your income. So the more money you make, more money you pay in taxes. A sales tax is regressive taxation. It's a flat rate. So it doesn't matter how much money you make, everybody pays the same thing. And so that hurts the working poor and the disadvantaged more so than it does the rich. So he proposed a state income tax. Then, of course, the state was against that. And think about it this way: the surrounding states have a state income tax. So then he proposed, okay, then let's say we implement a state income tax. Let's do away with taxes on food. Okay, like for example, Arkansas and Mississippi. And so that was they didn't agree upon that. So then he said, okay, let's balance the budget. How are we going to do that? Because remember, the local level and state level, they have to balance the budget. It's not that way at the federal level. And so he said, okay, what are we going to do? And that's when they raised sales tax. Now we have one of the highest
Yes, we
sales
do.
tax in the country. And so it's because of what happened. And then after that, not only did they not pass a progressive taxation based on people's ability to pay, then they made it illegal. I was like, what? And so that's why we have one of the highest sales tax in the country.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And so think about it this way. If you go to the surrounding states and you buy groceries, okay, and at the end of the day, you don't pay sales tax, that's to help people who really need it, who have large families, who are disadvantaged or working poor, etc. But here in Memphis, in Shelby County, Tennessee, you paying taxes on groceries, and that's why you have
Mm-hmm.
people going over to Arkansas and Mississippi buying the groceries,
Oh yeah.
trying to save money.
Oh yeah. Well,
But
you
to
can't
your
prevent
point,
it. You
we
can't
have to be
prevent it.
creative as far as a stream of revenue, so
Mm-hmm.
it does not hurt the working poor and disadvantaged
Mm-hmm.
people.
Mm-hmm.
People need to pay their fair share of taxes. And
Absolutely.
so, to that point, I would say this: what's going on in this country is you're seeing the shrinking of the middle class.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because all at the federal level, they're making all these different cuts that are hurting the disadvantaged, the elderly, the rural areas, etc. And so, again, when they make these cuts, it's hurting the people. It's harming people. So, having said that, we've got to be very conscious about who we vote for because those same people who
Yes.
are making these cuts running for reelection.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
don't come and complain about, I'm not getting the same amount of food stamps, or
Mm-hmm.
I'm not getting Section 8 housing, or I can't pay my medical bills or pay for my
Right.
medication
Right.
if you don't get out and vote.
Right. Your vote is your voice.
Yes.
And as we said, you need to connect voting to concerns, issues you're concerned about.
Correct.
You're concerned about Section 8 housing. Okay. Well, how does it happen? It happens because you have individuals uh, in the U.S. Congress, if you will, who vote on these kinds of issues.
Right.
So you want to make sure that the person you're supporting is one that also supports vouchers for Section 8
Right.
or supports WIC
Right.
for families and for women who need to get supplemental food. So again, you got to make a connection between the person you're voting for and the issues you're concerned about. And if there's no connection, you don't want to vote for them.
And right now, what we're seeing is it's a cloak and dagger, if you will. People are thinking like, okay, we're focused on the race issues, and poor whites and blacks and browns and this and that. So it's a race. No, it's not a race war. What it is a class war. And it's
Mm-hmm.
intentional. So while people are fighting with each other on racial issues, y'all got the rich people are getting rich off of this, okay?
Yeah.
And so it's to keep everybody down but the rich. And so again, the middle class is shrinking. I'm trying to struggle as a teacher because recently they said we weren't professionals to
Mm-hmm.
stay in the middle class,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so we've got to be very clear that people are being pushed out of this country and people also leaving the country. We have more people leaving this country than ever before. More
Mm-hmm.
people leaving than coming into this country. And
Mm-hmm.
why?
Mm-hmm.
Because one individual told me he has like a hotel, motel, all these different businesses here, not only in
Mm-hmm.
Memphis and Shelby County, but in Arkansas. And he was saying that his child, who is a Middle Eastern, was being
Mm-hmm.
discriminated against. And so he said, you know what? I can go back to Dubai and tax free, and don't have to deal with all this discrimination.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're packing up their businesses and taking them with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the impact is not going to be just now, it's going to be ongoing generationally.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of that, you serve on workforce development, right?
Correct.
So tell us, how does workforce development committee on the county commission, how does that impact what we're talking about here?
Well, I'm glad you asked me that as well, is because I have an ordinance which I have withdrawn right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Mm-hmm.
And the people need to realize an ordinance it may take a year to craft. You may
Mm-hmm.
have to have meetings with the community and so forth. And so this one deals with trade. And so what we're trying to do at the commission, if, for example, there's a developer that wants a contract, and if they have an apprenticeship program willing to teach people various trades, because on one
Mm-hmm.
building, for example, a house, there are 50 different trades that go
Mm-hmm.
into that.
Mm-hmm.
And so people who are in these trades are making a living wage,
Mm-hmm.
not minimum wage, but a living wage.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is so important. And so I will be bringing that back
Okay.
after
Good.
May, after the election's over.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad to hear that because one of the things I want to do, I want to make sure that we can put in front of our state delegation my request in the form of a resolution to let Shelby County opt out of the right to work. That is just such a
Okay,
feeble.
explain the right to work, because people ask me that all the time. So can you
Well, okay,
explain that?
well, the right to work is just a state statute that says you, as an employer, can be fired for any reason. It doesn't impact government workers because government workers come under what's called civil service system, and they have their own process. But this is pertaining particularly to private employers. And that's what we have here, these little small private employers, well, small wage paying private employers who can dismiss people or fire people at will. And a lot of them are concentrated in the what do you call those temporary services workers, temporary service industry. And we have a disproportionate number of those. So we have a lot of work to do
Yes, we
locally.
do.
Right now, this county is being run by that plantation, if you will, mega agro mind that is a continuation or a unit of the plantation system. That's what's running Shelby County. And we've got to fix that because it's not going to move the needle in terms of creating more money, higher wage jobs, and better companies coming in. It's simply going to keep the status quo. And that's not working.
No, it's
It's not working for us.
In fact, I'm glad you mentioned that, because if you don't have like a trade or skill, you can be easily replaced by AI. And so again, we got to think about that. AI's here, is not going away.
Right.
When I went to China, for example, they use a lot of AI in EV vehicles and things of that nature. And the smallest city that I visited was 5 million. The largest was Shanghai. It had 23 million. And so, but it was clean, it was efficient. You had EV vehicles, you had people on mopeds, etc. But there was, when I went to the hotels, they were like robots running around doing stuff.
Really?
And then went to a factory. I was like, where are the people at? They're like, maybe this huge factory, 2 or 3 people working operating machines and everything. And I was like, this is what's coming to the United States.
Absolutely. And it's definitely coming to Shelby County. I know we're almost out of time, but I want to say this. We've got to take advantage of any training, any courses in AI, because here we are in Shelby County. One of our major assets is what? Warehouse space, logistics, Mississippi River, all of that transportation, and AI is going to be running that. So you need to get a course, courses, training, certifications regarding AI, because it's right on us.
Yes.
And we got to take advantage of it. Look, thank you all for, wait, now, hold on 1 minute. I just want to let people know. I want to thank them for tuning in to Lean In with Commissioner Henri Brooks, because I have my special guest and friend, Commissioner Erica Sugarman. But before I go, of course, I want her to give any closing statement for as long as she wants to. As long as it's under 1 minute. Just kidding.
No. Okay, no, really. There's a referendum that's coming. It'll be on the ballot. It's dealing with the Shelby County Commission should have their own independent attorney, because that's how we keep checks and balance. Okay, the city council has their own attorney, independent attorney. We don't. Our attorney is assigned to us by the mayor. And so there's a direct conflict, for example. And so we're supposed to check, the mayor and his administration, as well as, vice versa. He checks ours. So it's called checks and balance. We don't have that right now because we cannot get our own attorney. I can tell you story after story, but I'm not going to do that.
But it's on the ballot.
But it's on the ballot. So please vote for our, the commission to have their own attorney so that we can maintain transparency, accountability, and things of that nature. And that's all I want to say. And thank you.
Well, and if the language looks a lot legalese and all of that, don't worry about it. Just vote yes. Where you see lawyer. Thank you all so much. Commissioner Sugarman.
Yes.
Thank you for being my guest. I'm going to have you back.
Of course. I would love to come back.
Okay.
I would love to come back.
And I need you all back to Lean In with Commissioner Henri E. Brooks. Thank you.